And as a technical error decides to stop my waffling, I think that's best to go to robot mode, don't you? And with that none too subtle perspective shift, there we have Superlink Scorponok in his robot mode. Yeah, that was a real subtle one, wasn't it? But there was no way I was going to get this guy on camera without having to do that, I'm afraid. He is so massive that he would not have... You wouldn't have been able to see any of him, basically. I think he'd come up to about his waist. What we have is, as I hope you can see from what I described, a very good update of a Generation 1 figure. It's not so G1 that you go, oh, look, it's clearly G1, but there is enough there to make you go, actually, you know what, that will stand and that will do. I display him with my chug line, so I wanted a Scorponok that fitted, and I feel this does. I mean, it's got the head mould, the head sculpt is very, very G1 in design. The fact that you have the visor to go over it as well. It's a shame he's not a headmaster. I'm sure Kit Bash has done it. But I mean, that's very G1 in his aesthetic. The double cannons on the hips, and also the detailing up on the top there is very reminiscent of the G1 styling as well. The massive claws, I mean, obvious. Very obvious. Also, I mean, we have so many wonderful ratchet joints within this this figure. Open up the claws massively, you've then got the weaponry back once again. I mean, there isn't too much to say on detailing and stuff. Other than the tail, 0 kibble. Is that good enough for you? Good enough for me. There isn't too much to say on detailing and stuff, just purely because I've kind of covered it with the rest of the review. The aesthetic of him is absolutely superb. The colour scheme works beautifully well with the two different tones of green. There's like the metallic green around the edges with the gold, and then that central pillar of a more solid green. A little bit more purple would have been nice, possibly just to lift him up a little bit more. His transformation is from each mode is actually quite simple, but this version, the Superlink version, has got to be the first toy I've ever had to loosen joints up on. I've actually had to unscrew parts of it so it doesn't snap. There is that tough to do. It was insane. I couldn't believe it when I got it. It was just really tight joints. These sections around the chest and everything, because of the way they fold up and round. And this is sort of your main area for spreading it forward and moving it back and everything for the 3 different modes. Obviously the scorpion head, and then it all comes down to the side for the jet. That's the area where you'll get problems. Keep an eye on that when you get them, because I haven't used the Hasbro version, but the Superlink version was tight as hell through all of these joints. They all had to be loosened off slightly and given a little bit of grease. I can't actually recommend this guy highly enough. There is so much to him, and when you get him in hand, you notice so much more. The sculpted detail, these pipes here, the hydraulics that do 0, but just there because they can do them. The sculpted detail all the way around the chest. There's all these little areas that haven't been picked out in detail. I'm just going to take that cannon off, and you can see the mesh sculpting down the side there, and all this wiring and these panels there. Yeah, if you're looking for a loose version, careful of missing parts like that. The amount of work that went into this figure is quite phenomenal, especially for the age that it was. I mean, Energon, I can't abide Energon. The show is dire. The Autobots are, for the most part, complete rubbish, especially Fatimus Prime. And the Decepticons, while they have a few good figures, basically the best part of the Energon line is actually the Scouts, the Omnicons and the Terracons, in my eyes. But this guy actually pretty much won me over from the moment I picked him up, from the moment I got him through the post. I adore him. I think he's a perfect representation of Scorponok until we get a new one. And while it does have its problems with things not clipping together rather than they just sort of sit there, and the colour scheme maybe not G1 enough for some people, there isn't enough purple on it, he is a very faithful representation of the Energon model and harkens back and gives me enough feel of the Generation 1 figure to make me actually quite happy with it. In all, this is one of my top 10 figures. George, Ray, you guys, thank you so much for recommending him so strongly in your reviews, with so much passion that I actually felt obliged to go and pick one up. Without you, I wouldn't have him, so thank you to you guys. That'll do, I think.